Hello there, my name's Jan from JB Crafts and I'm back today with my next tutorial. So, first question is, how did it get to be March already? Absolutely flying by so far, and the reason I mention it is because it's exactly a month since I launched my channel here at YouTube back at the beginning of February, and my goodness, it has flown. It's far exceeded my expectations, and I only have you guys out there to thank for that. So I am really grateful, a little overwhelmed with the support that I've received, all the comments, you know, the fact that you guys are loving what I'm actually doing here. So yes, I do plan to continue, and I'm back with the next tutorial today. And seeing as it's March, here in the UK next weekend, we are due to celebrate Mother's Day. So I thought I'd come along with a nice Mother's Day project today. I know over in the States it's later on in the year in May, but obviously just wanted to tick a box here in the UK. So I've actually made a combination of a 3D project and a card today. It's more like a gift, to be honest. And I've created this lovely Envelobox, and all we've done is left what would be the closure of the box open so that I can decorate. And I've got a beautiful cascade of flowers. Majority of these are handmade, some of them are paper flowers out of my collection. There's a real mishmash of things in there. I'm not going to go through how to make the flowers today. I may do that in the future on one of my Technique Tuesday videos. So I have got the flowers ready made today because I didn't want the video to be too long. But on the back of here we've got a nice little card, just so that you can write a greeting, and I've left it blank today so that you could maybe write a message in there, and there is also room inside if you wanted to pop, you know, some little sweeties or something like that in there. You could actually add those in. I've just got a piece of tissue paper in the bottom of mine just to keep the shape and everything. So I'm going to show you how I've made this today, and we're actually going to start with the box itself. Now I wanted something that was around 6 by 4 inches, and when you put an envelope or an Envelobox together, it always comes up at just over that, obviously, so that you can fit your card in. Now we're not going to use it for a card today, so this is just slightly larger than 6 by 4, what would be the finished box here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop this to one side, and I'm going to bring in my Envelobox maker. Now this is actually a product from Crafter's Companion that I love using for this kind of thing. It's so simple to use, and I've also got my list of measurements, my guide here as well. And you can make a flat envelope, and then it's also got the positions to make one that's 1/2 inch, 3/4 of an inch, or a whole inch deep. Now these are the UK measurements. If you go onto the Crafter's Companion website, there is sizings on there on their download section for the US measurements. So the first thing that I did was check out the size of the piece of cardstock that I needed to begin with. So I've gone across the top here to my 6-inch marker, and I've come down the side to the 4, and where these two meet we land at a 9-inch piece of card. So the measurement in here is the piece that's telling you how big your card needs to be. The letters underneath are the tracks that we're going to use. So the tracks are all lettered from A all the way up to O, and we need to use track E and I. So I'll pop those to one side and bring in my piece of cardstock. Now I chose a mint colour today, and then the accent colour on here is like a lovely salmon, almost sort of a cross between peach and pink for the decoration. And then I've just introduced a little bit of rose gold mirror card to add that bit of sparkle in there. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to score our piece of cardstock. So the first line was line E. Now we're always going to start with this particular piece of equipment on that flat section. You can see that there are notches set into the side of the board here. So the first one would be the flat envelope. Then it goes to a 1/2 inch, a 3/4 of an inch, and a whole inch there. So the first line that I'm going to make is on that flat piece right in the base of it, and we're going to use line E. And I'm going to make myself a nice vertical score line, and then I'm going to lift it 2 spaces into that 3/4 of an inch track, and I'm going to score again at that same place. So this is line E, and this has created me that 3/4 of an inch depth on this corner. This is going to be one of the sides of the box. Then we need to do a whole rotation 180 degrees to the opposite corner. So my score lines are now over here, and I'm going to do the same again. I've got it in that flat section first, and we're going to score at line E nice and gently, and then again lift it up 2 spaces so that it's in the 3/4 of an inch track, and I'm going to use that same line. So I've now created the 2 sides of my box, and then I want to turn it onto one of the corners that we haven't scored yet, and the second line was line I. So again, I'm working on the flattest part first, and I'm just going to go GHI and bring that vertical line down here, and then again lift this piece of card into that 3/4 of an inch track, and I'm going to repeat that line at line I. So this is going to create the base section of the box, and again we've got that 3/4 of an inch deep. So that's all my scoring done. I can pop that out of the way, pop the tool away, and again, I don't know how well we can see those score lines, but I am going to fold them in a second so you'll actually see them a little bit better. Excuse me. Dear me. So next job then, to just gently bring in all those places where we've scored and just burnish those lines into place. So we've got one side, I'm going to repeat that on the other side here, and just giving it a gentle burnish just to teach that cardstock what we want it to do. And then I've got the long one which came across on that line I, and this one actually bisects both of the lines that we've done at the side. So I've got one here, and then I've got a second one here. Now if you were making this into an Envelobox, you would have repeated the line I at the other side so that you'd got the flap for your closure. Now I don't want that today. I want this back piece to be nice and solid, so I'm going to keep that as it is. So we need to do a little bit of cutting next. So where we've got these pieces that overlap at the bottom here, and I'm just going to draw these in with a pencil so that you guys can see this nice and clearly. So I've actually got a section here where those lines cross like so, and I've got a section at this side, and we're going to create a glue tab with these little pieces. Okay, so what I want to do is release those pieces so that I can work with them. So again, I'm going to cut the score line away. So on this side, I'm coming to the left of the score line, and I'm just going to snip all the way past the first horizontal line here, right up to that second one where those corners actually meet for the corner of the box. So I've freed this part up, and then I'm also going to cut this part away, and then I'm going to turn it and take that little triangle, and each time I've actually cut the score line away so that I've got rid of that little piece that's raised. I'm going to take this one away, and then I'm just going to take a little tiny notch out of here, again cutting away that score line to create myself. I've now freed up like a little glue tab here, and then we're going to repeat that at this side. So this time I'm going to come to the right hand side of the score line and just snip it away past that first horizontal one up to the second one, and then again repeat it on this one. Take away those little tiny triangles, cutting that score line away again. Same on this one. And then the side closest to the box, I'm just going to take, and it is just a sliver, literally is just a little tiny piece to get rid of those score marks. So that's my cutting, and we've now freed up these two pieces. So this is what it should look like. So what's going to happen when we come to put this together, these are going to fold inside, and they're going to become the corners of your actual box, and it will all fold together like so. So the next thing that I want to do, and this is an optional point, I just like to have the corners rounded on mine. So I've brought in my corner punch, and I'm going to use the largest section on mine, and just on all the corners You're not actually going to see the side pieces, but it just gives it a really nice finish. There we go. So we'll get rid of some of those waste pieces. And we've got our piece ready to work with now. So it's going to be this side. This is the inside of the box. We're going to glue it all together eventually, but I want to do a little bit of decorating before we get to that part. So the next thing I did was actually create a second one of these in some plain white cardstock. And then I've chopped it up. And I actually drew around the sections, cut them out, and then chopped it up. And I've cut them out with about 1/8 of an inch border all the way round. So I've actually cut inside the pencil line where I drew to make myself some templates. Now I've put measurements on here just for the height and the width of them. Obviously you've got that shaping for the edge of the envelope out of it. So this one was 8 inches from top to bottom and 5 7/8 all the way across. And then what I've done is I've used that to trace around a piece of my pattern paper to give me the piece that's going to go inside the back of my envelope. Okay, slightly different pattern to the first one. Only had one piece of that design paper for the first one. So that's my first piece, and that's going to stick in the back just here like so. So we'll get that one stuck in first, I think. Get that one out of the way so that we don't end up with too many pieces of paper. And I'm actually using my all-purpose glue for this. Tend to refer to it as construction glue because it is nice and strong when it's all glued together and dried. Again, just a little bit around the edges and a bit through the middle. And we're going to stick this piece in place now. So this is going to sit in the back. I want to make sure it's on the inside. And again, you know, you don't have to bring this piece all the way down to the bottom if you don't want to. It's not all going to, you're not going to see this sort of bottom section, but it just, in my world, it just finished everything off. So again, I'm just going to position that one so that I've got a fairly equal border around that edge there, and then let that one sit in there to dry. And then I did the same. I cut the pieces off for the sides here, and again I've cut these just that little bit smaller, cut away the pencil marking so that I've got my templates, and I've also got one here for that one. So yeah, whole thing in white, chop it up, and then you can make your templates and keep these. Again, I've put the measurements on them just for the width and the height, but it's not really relevant because obviously we need to create that shaping. So all I've done is drawn round them. So we need one of the larger piece to go on the front, and then I need 2 of the smaller piece for the sides. So I changed my paper here, and I've gone for that contrast paper. So I've got the piece here that I've drawn round for the front, and then I've cut 2 pieces that are going to fit those side sections. So again, we'll get those glued on and popped in place so that we've got not too much mess. And these are going to go on the front of the design. So again, I'm going to stick with that same glue, and I'm going to build these onto the map these onto the front. So we've got our piece that's going to fold up this way, and that one just sits nicely. I've just cut it, as I say, about 1/8 of an inch smaller to leave that border all the way round. And then we've also got the pieces that are going to be on the side. So again, we'll go with we'll go that way. Again, it doesn't really matter. If you've got a pattern paper, you're probably better with one that doesn't have a specific orientation, because obviously we've gone from a piece that was square to it now being on the angle. So yeah, it's probably better that the piece doesn't have too much of a an angle on it. So again, we've got the one there, and we've got one to go on the other side. So that's all that sort of decorated. Now you can actually decorate the thin sides as well. I did that on my original one, and I'll give you the measurements if you want to go ahead with those. And these are just sort of scraps that are left over from the actual cutting of the paper. So I decided to go across the bottom here and down the sides as well. So if you want to do those as well, we've just got some little tiny strips now, and I have got one for the bottom that measures 6 inches by a half an inch. That's going to go across the bottom, and then I've got two that measure 4 inches by half an inch, and these are going to go on the side. So we'll just very quickly pop those in place, and then that's all my sort of paper decoration done. Now I didn't do a card mat and layer on these because I didn't want it to get too bulky, and I didn't want the pieces to end up being too small. So I've just gone with one paper layer on these just to give it some detail. I want the flowers to be the focal point on this particular design. So yeah, if you want to add a matte layer, you can just create yourself a second template that's just a wee bit smaller, and then you can add those details to the side. There we go. And then the same at this side. I've just realised there's a little bit more cutting wants doing. There we go. So that one's going to go on this side. I wondered why my pieces had come up short, but I've just realised that there is actually a section. I suppose you could leave it in. I actually cut it away last time. Yeah, we will. We'll trim it away. So across the top of here then, we've got, that one just wants to move down a fraction. Yeah, we want to come, it's what would have been the equivalent of the glue tabs, but I'm going to cut all that away. So I'm going to take that section out of here, and I'm going to do the same at this side. Just gives it a nicer finish when we're done. So again, this one, just taking that whole triangle out, and again you can see now that we've got that box that's ready to go. Okay, so I think we can go ahead and stick that box together now. So I'm going to bring in a little bit of red line tape for those tabs. I want to make sure that those are stuck down nice and firmly. So again, just on the outside, so I'm going to turn it over, and I'm just going to pop myself some tape on those two glue tabs here. And then I also want to add some to this section here so that we can fold up. These are going to fold inside, and then this one is going to stick on the front here. So I'm going to add my tape to these two sides. So again, turn it over, and I'm sticking with the red line tape for this just so that I get a really nice quick finish. If you're doing this at home, you could actually use your wet glue on here, but I just need this to be dry in order to continue with the tutorial. So again, just a little bit down that bottom edge of each of those two side panels. And then we're just going to bring in my pokey tool there to take off the liner. So 1, 2, we'll do those bottom ones first. Just make sure there's no tape hanging over. So all we're going to do is bring this up and make a nice neat corner, just as if you were making a box in there, and then give it a good press together. And then the same at this side. This one's going to come nicely together here, make that nice right angle, and then once you're happy with those, you can pop back in there. I usually pop back in with my bone folder and just give them a nice press to make sure that that glue has connected. And then we need to bring these two in, and I'm going to take the liner off of this section. Oops. And the same at the other side. And we've pretty much got our box at the ready then. So all we need to do now is make sure that everything's running reasonably straight here. So I want to bring this one, tend to stand it up so that I can see that I've got everything aligned. Just tack it in place. The same for this one. You want a nice straight edge. Tack it in place, and then when you're happy with it, again, I can pop inside now and I'm just pressing where I've stuck those panels down, and we've got our box at the ready. So nice little box. If this was going to be an Envelobox, this would be the section that closed, but we're actually sticking with this as it is. So I had one little piece of decoration left. I'd just got a strip of the green just to bring that sort of inside pattern to the outside. And what I'm going to do is pop this one across the bottom here, just as an extra detail. Again, optional, but I just wanted to link it with what was going on the inside of the box. Okay, so that's my little Envelobox done. So I'm going to pop that to one side just for a second, and I am going to bring in all the flower pieces. And like I said, I've got these ready made, but I actually started out with a piece of watercolour card. So this is just plain white watercolour card, and then I've actually added some of my oxide inks, and you've seen me make the backgrounds before. So I used Tattered Rose, which was that lovely sort of salmon pink colour. I've got Victorian Velvet, which is much more of a sort of old-fashioned pink, and then I've got Tea Dye, which again is sort of that peachy tone in the brown. And all I've done is popped it down on the work surface, popped my card in, smooshed it on there, picked it up, and then I also added a little bit of metallic paint on the top of it and created myself a panel to start cutting my flowers out from. And you can see where I've cut out loads and loads of flowers. I've got a little bit left. I will keep this bit, pop this to one side so that I've got it for future reference. So what I've done then is I've got a whole tub full of lots and lots of different shapes. Some of them I've got pieces out of my stash, and then I've added the paper flowers. This one's actually a Prima paper flower out of my stash. This one's been made, and I've got several different dies that I've used for these. So I've got a set here. Let's just have a look. What did we end up with? We've got some that have been made with this particular die. Where are we? This one was made with this die. I've got some that were made with a set of Tim Holtz dies that's got lots of different sizes in here, and some of the leaves are from that particular set. I've got some little green leaves. Again, these ones you can see here, we've got this particular one that cuts out that lovely shape. So yeah, anything you've got in your stash. I've used the little centres here to create some of the middles in the flowers. Anything. I know we've all got a stash of flower dies. So yeah, I have got a multitude of flowers. I've got some proper paper roses that I've had again for a long time. I've got some of those in peach. I've got some creamy coloured ones, some that are tinted with that lovely pink edge. So yeah, just have a rummage through what you've got and pick out anything that you think will work. This is another one from my stash, a little synthetic one. And just pick out any that you think are going to work. Let's just tip those out because those are all the flowers there. Just made lots and lots and lots. And all we're going to do is pop these together. Again, these were some elements again that I had with some of the flowers. So we're going to use one of those in there, I think. Got some little pearl fronds, anything you've got. You know, it could be shop bought flowers, it could be ones that you've made, you know, so many different ways. I've got little tiny ones there that we're just going to fill in some spaces. One little butterfly for decoration, and you can see we've got a whole section going on here of all those pretty flowers. And then I just had a set of leaf dies, which again, you can see here I've just cut these out, and this was actually a piece of cardstock that I inked up with some Evergreen Bough Distress Oxide, which was a nice sort of match for the mint tones in the card that I was making. So yeah, I've just inked up a piece of card and I've cut all the leaves and the foliage out of that. So we're just going to spend a minute or so now actually popping this together, and I've got my hot glue gun on. I'm going to use that to create the bouquet here. And then the last bit, just for a little bit of decoration, this is just a little little crisscross die again that I've had in my stash for a very long time, and it just die cuts this piece here, which again I'm going to chop into, and you can just see there are tiny elements of it just popping out behind the flowers just to add a bit more interest in there. So I'm going to leave that one where I can see it, so I've got something to work against. And then I'm actually going to start and pop these together. So we've got all our greenery together, we've got all the little flowers at the ready, and I'm going to use the one that I've already made as a guideline. So some of the flowers I've actually popped foam pads on the back because I wanted a really nice height. So I'm going to start with that middle one here, pop a little bit of hot glue on the back, and this one's going to be sort of that first positioning here on the background. And I wanted the height so that I can slot other flowers behind it. Again, this one's still got a foam pad on the back. Some of them I'm going to stick on absolutely sort of flat where they've been built. So again, this one I wanted to tuck underneath here so that we've got some detail going on this one. So the three largest flowers are going to be in the background. So this one doesn't have anything. This one's going to go flatter. So each time, just that little bit of glue. And again, this one's going to tuck right underneath both of these and create that sort of trio that we're starting off with there. If you get any little glue strands, don't worry about those. We can deal with those at the end. So what I wanted to do next was start adding in some of the other details. So we've got a little tiny one. So this was a set of 3. It made the large one. And then I've got the other 2, which I've just kept singularly. So some of the flowers are double, some of them are single. And they've all been made using those inks in the same colours there, so that we've got that theme going through. So this one's going to tuck in here. I'm going to use a bit of glue on the back of this one. That might be a bit long, but we'll have a look. And this one's going to stick right in the back here. There we go. Just to add a bit of detail. As I say, don't worry about the glue strands at this point because I've got a little trick for all those. I know some people don't like using the hot glue for this reason, but we can easily get rid of those at the end. So again, I'm just going to carry on with these, following the one that I've already done, just as a guide. We're going to pop in here. I want to pop one of those leaf sections in the back of here as well. So again, just pop the glue on the bottom edge, and these will then tuck in behind the flowers, like so. You can have them hanging over the edge or not, again depends how you want to go with it. And I think something like this would probably need to be hand delivered, so I'm not too worried about how I'm going to get it to a recipient. If you're making something this detailed, it's often better to actually hand deliver these items. So again, just going to bring these into play. This is one of the paper flowers, and then we've got that larger one again. So these so far are all on the back of the design, and then we're going to cascade them down the front of the box as well. So this one's going to go, and I'm just tucking them in. I'm overlapping some of them. I've left some of them stuck out. The ones that have still got the little wires on, I've just curled them round my paintbrush handle. So literally wrap the wires around. You get these lovely little tiny sort of curly tails on them, which I think look nice. So again, we're going to pop one of those in place now. And I don't want to come too far across because I want my greeting element to go in there. So I'm going to take one of the peach ones, and all I'm doing is just a complete mixture of the ones that I've made along with the paper flowers out of my stash. So again, this one's going to come in here. And then I've got another one of those cream ones down at the bottom. So you could use any colour frame for this. Just sort of, you know, have a look at the colour you want to work with, and then have a look at what inks you've got that you could match it with, and just take it from there. So again, we're going to take one of these smaller ones this time. You can see where the hot glue gun comes in handy for this one. It's just so quick and simple. And again, we're just going to tuck that one under the edge there. And then the leaves, all I've done with these is I've taken my pokey tool and just run it along the inside there and just giving it a little bit of dimension. So I want one that size and one this size, and we're just going to tuck some of these in behind as well now. So again, this one's going to tuck in here. So again, I'm just staying with the hot glue, lifting up the petals so that I can tuck these behind, and we're going to have a couple of those just to break up some of that pink. That one's going to go in like so. Okay, then I'm going to come down and start working on the front. So again, the largest one that's left was going to start and create this cascade onto the front. But just before I put that one down, I'm going to add my next piece of foliage here. So again, I've got another bit of that green, bit of glue on the back, and this one's going to start off this piece here. And then we can put the flower over the top of it. Those little tiny bits of cream off that grid I'm going to pop in right at the end where I can see where it just needs those extra details. So I want this now to look as if it's carrying on from the top here. So just de-glue my tweezers there. So again, we're going to carry on. I'm going to bring in one of those lovely rose gold ones now at the bottom. This is going to sort of start and come in here. And again, some of them I've got pushed up against the others. And then just carry on with all those little pieces so that we create that nice display all the way down. So again, I've got another one to go. And I want to lift up these parts so that I can tuck these under the edge, and then just work your way around. It really is as simple as that. And again, I've got another piece. I've got lots of different pieces of greenery that I cut out of that scrap that I'd made. So this one I'm going to lay towards the bottom edge here, and then we can actually add the flowers in again over the top. So we're nearly there. So again, that one's going to tuck under the edge of here. And I've got a few left that we're just going to create that cascade with. This one's going to go more to this side. And, you know, you can do as many of these or as little as you wish. You know, there's no right or wrong when you're doing something like this. As much or as little as you want to do. So that one's going to sit in there. I need a little bit more glue in there, I think. There we go. We've got a pink one left. So there's a complete mixture of like that salmon pink and then that little bit of deeper pink. That one in there. I've got another one of those rose pink ones there. And these are just cut from scraps of card that I had left over. Excuse me. And here. And then I'm going to go with the leaves again. So again, we're just going to pop these. And all I do is a little tiny bit of glue on the bottom, and then I can just tuck them behind where I want them to go. And then I've got that next size up again. A little bit more glue. So this is just bringing a bit more detail around this side here. And then I've just got about 2 or 3 left that we can add right towards the bottom. I don't want to cover the leaves up too much, so I'm just tucking them inside where they want to go. I've got a cream one left with that lovely little curly tail on, so this one's going to go in that gap just here. Oops. And then what else have we got left? Just got some little tiny ones. That might need a little bit more glue in there, I think. I'm just going to add a bit more underneath there, just to secure that in place. Dear me, I've got the frog in my throat today. And then let's have a look what we've got left. I've got some tiny little ones, so we're going to go with one of them. Just need to finish off this section here at the bottom. So I'm going to take one under there, and then one right in that very bottom corner here. So I wanted that whole cascade effect coming down. So I've got a couple of little tiny rose gold ones left, and these were sort of added when I had a look at it at the end. I thought it just wanted a little bit more of the rose gold to link these together, so I'm just going to sort of tuck them in places to add that touch of rose gold. So again, tiny little ones just to finish off with. Pop one of those up there. We're going to have one, I think we need a little bit more maybe down at the bottom there, just to break it up just that little tiny bit. And then I've also got some of those in cream, that little tiny one. So these were just sort of fillers, so have a look round, see where you think the gaps are, and you can just pop those ones in place. Tiny little ones. If you have a paper punchers are great for these. If you want to sort of add in, you know, right at the end, the little flower paper punchers work great for something like this. And that last one, a little tiny gap there, just waiting for one, I think. So again, which is good because my glue stick is just about finished there. Tuck that one in here. I can see a little bit of glue in here, and then I'm just going to pop another, I think I've got another glue stick in my, yep, let's just pop that in the back. And then what have we got left? I've got one tiny little piece of greenery left, so we'll use that. We'll stick that one in there. And then I've got that lovely piece with the pearls on, which I'm hoping there's space, yeah, for that one to stick in the back there. So again, just use the hot glue on the bottom of it, and then you can lift those flower shapes. And we're just going to slot this one right in the back there. Push it down so that there's not too much sticking out, and we've got those details there at the back. So I've got my little tiny butterfly, which I'm going to put on this side here. And again, this is just a tiny little die that I have, and I use it all the time. You'll see it appear on lots and lots of different things. And then I just wanted to add some snippets. So all I've done is I've cut into this. So you can take, you know, whichever bit of it you want, and literally just snip some of the pieces out. And then I'm actually going to build this into the design by just slotting it underneath. So again, it just needs a tiny little bit of glue on the bottom. Lift at whatever's there, and it'll just slide underneath, just to add that little bit of interest. So have a look at the different sort of shapes, you know, and if you don't have anything like this, you could be adding little tiny bits of cheesecloth, or it could be little pieces, little snippets of doily, something like that, look nice on the edges. So again, I'm going to slot a piece in the back of here, just to add those little bits of interest. And then we'll have a couple of pieces up at the top as well. So I've got some more left on there. So I'm just taking snippets out of it, adding glue to the bottom, and then just tucking them behind wherever you've got a little space left. you can just pop them behind. As I say, don't worry about the glue. I'm going to come to that in a second when we've finished. And then I just need to balance it. I think we just need a little bit over here. So again, I'm just going to take that little bit off here. And we'll slot that in that last side. So you can see how we've built up that lovely design. You can imagine this in lots of different colours, depending on who the recipient is, what their favourite colour is. So again, you can see that bit there. Now I did say I would tackle all the little glue strands, and the quickest way that I find to do that is if you have your heat tool handy, just warm up the heat tool, and it doesn't need to be on your design for long because obviously you don't want to damage the flowers, but just a quick waft over the design and the heat will melt any of those little glue strands and they just disappear into the design. That's all it needs. That's all I'm going to do on there, just to get rid of all those pieces, those little strands off it. Right, so we need a sentiment on there now. So this could be for anything, you know, it could be a birthday, it could be any kind of celebration. I just wanted to celebrate the Mother's Day one. And what I did is I made myself sort of like a little, it's almost like a little lollipop stick. I was thinking of the ones that went in the plant pots really, and this is actually a wooden kebab skewer. I cut in half, and I've used half of it on that first one here and half of it here on the back. So I've stuck this onto the back with some glue. I've added some foam pads to raise it up, and this one's just going to stick inside here. Now if you were doing sort of a nice celebratory birthday, you know, so maybe it was a 50th or something like that, you could have the numbers would look great on here. Absolutely gorgeous. Now I was just sticking with the Mother's Day one today, so again, as I say, we're going to pop this one on the back, and because again I want the longevity with this, I'm going to carry on with a little bit of that hot glue. I'm going to put a bit right at the very bottom of that that wood stick there, and then we're just going to slide this in and decide roughly where you want it to go. Now I don't want too many of the foam pads to show on the back there, and if you're worried about this, you could always pop another piece of green over the back of it, but that gives us the happy part. And then I've just taken a stamp from my set that had the Mother's Day, and we're going to pop that piece down at the bottom. So again, I'll just go back to, I don't need the hot glue for that bit. If I go back to my all-purpose glue, and then I can slide that piece into place where I want it here. So we've got most of that decoration going on at the front there. And then just to finish it up, you might want to leave it like this. You might want to pop a matte layer on the back to write a message on. But if you remember the one that I did, that I showed you at the beginning, I'd actually attached a card to the back of it. So this is actually a 6 1/4 by 4 1/4 inch card. And all I've done is prepare that. I've written those sizes down for you. So 6 1/4 by 4 1/4, which is the equivalent of the size of the box. And then I've matted and layered inside here. And the mat is 6 by 4 and the layer is 4 3/4 by 3 3/4. And I've just popped those. I've left it completely blank because you may want to write a message in there. You could add another sentiment in here if you wanted to. And then I've popped my foam tape just on the front of the card. And what I'm going to do is just remove one piece first of all, turn this over, turn the card over, and I'm going to line this up with the bottom edge of our box here so that it's flush with that bottom edge. And just by taking one of those pieces off, it means that it's not grabbing underneath. And when I'm happy with it, then I can then remove the other liner, and we can stick this in place. Now you could actually create something that's the same shape as the card. If you wanted to do the whole thing as a card, you could actually have something the whole shape and have your fold here at the side so they open this way. But doing it like this, and just pop your hand in to give that a good press, it just means that you can actually stand this up then to display it. So we've got our card in the back. You can write your own little personal message to the recipient there. And again, if I just bring the one in that I did earlier, we've got two there, very, very similar. So you can see, beautiful, beautiful design, ready for Mother's Day, with a chance to write this in. And again, as I say, I would be hand delivering this. I would perhaps wrap it in tissue paper with a nice little wax seal on the front if I wanted to actually put it inside something and make it more of a gift rather than a card. So that's my project for today. So thank you very much for joining me. I've been thoroughly enjoying doing all the tutorials for you guys. And just wanted to mention before I go today that I have created a Facebook page for JB Crafts to run alongside the YouTube channel. Now, I know a lot of you have found it already, but please feel free if you want to pop over there. It is just a page at the minute. I haven't gone as far as a group yet. I may create a group in the future, but I just wanted to create the page, and where I put the links for the videos, you can actually post comments or photos. I know some of you have had a go at some of the designs that I've made, and you've sent photos for me. Absolutely love that. So yeah, it's there for you to interact with. So if you want to pop over there and follow, absolutely. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, I would appreciate that. And don't give me a thumbs up if you've enjoyed the video today. So all I'm going to say now is happy Mother's Day for next weekend, and bye for now.